Mr. Mayor-elect,
How's it going?
thank you for doing this.
No, absolutely.
I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
How are you feeling?
Feeling good. Feeling
Ready?
Good. Feeling ready. Just right over there.
Your new office.
Yeah, just a couple of weeks.
John Lindsay said what? That being mayor of New York is the
Second hardest job
in American politics.
Yes, yes.
When you think about the things that are keeping you up at night in between now and Inauguration Day when you're going to be inaugurated. Are you going to be inaugurated, by the way, on the steps of City Hall?
We're going to be releasing that information soon.
Okay, all right, TBD.
TBD.
What's keeping you up at night?
I think it's the same thing that kept me going through the campaign, frankly, which is the affordability crisis. I think oftentimes we think about these issues solely through the context of when there's an election, but it's continued all the same these last few weeks. You know, my phone stopped working. I went to an AT&T store. I sat across from an employee at a table, and they said, "You've been here before." I said, "No, I haven't." They said, "Well, you look like a regular."
I recognize you.
I was like, yeah. It was like you walk by the store. I was like, sometimes. And I told him I'm going to be the next mayor of the city, and he was apologizing that he didn't know me, and I said, "Not at all." And he told me about his life, and he said every day he wakes up in the morning, he thinks about work, he gets ready, he goes to work, he's at work, he comes home thinking about work, he goes back to sleep, and it's the same cycle. He doesn't have time to engage with the politics of the city around him because he's so concerned about being able to afford this city. And that, to me, continues to be the issue, because if you talk to New Yorkers about their rent, if you talk to New Yorkers about their childcare, their utilities, public transit, groceries, these are costs that are continuing to suffocate them. And for all of the conversation of I'll be the first this or the first that, the first that I'm thinking about is the first of the month for New Yorkers, and how it's still a time of trepidation.
When you heard the president talk about affordability in the speech and after your meeting as a hoax, what's your reaction to that?
I think it continues to be a very real issue for New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs. And when I sat with the president of the Oval Office, I spoke about the fact that this is what is pushing New Yorkers out of this city. It's their inability to be able to afford the basics of their life. And I actually told the president that while my campaign began technically on October 23rd of last year, the moment when more people started to hear about our vision for the city was when we interviewed voters who voted for the president, whether Fordham Road in the Bronx or Hillside Avenue in Queens. And when we asked them who they voted for and why, they spoke about voting for the president because of a focus on cost of living. And I told the president that focus continues. People are still struggling to afford the most expensive city in America.
Do you think he has any idea what it's like to be a person working paycheck to paycheck in the United States?
I think my job is to spell out what the consequences are for exactly that kind of New Yorker, whether I'm speaking to the president or anyone else, because I think too often, you know, we are also living in the wealthiest city in the wealthiest country in the history of the world. It's easy to tell a story of this city that loses sight of the fact that 1 in 4 are living in poverty. But this is one city whose story needs to be telling the story of everyone who lives here. And that's what I'm looking to do.
As we stand here, it's not lost on me, as we stand here in the shadow of your new office here at City Hall with Tweed Courthouse in the background. Look up there, guys. Guys, take a look. They're waving to their new mayor. What's it like to stand here in this moment and know that very soon you're going to be moving in there and you're going to be in your new office?
I mean, there's definitely an aspect of all of this that is surreal. You know, about 4 years ago, I was over there and I was on a 15-day hunger strike with working class taxi drivers whose lives were being ruined by the policies of this city. And we won that battle. We won $475 million in debt relief thanks to the leadership of the New York Taxi Workers Alliance. And to be meeting those same drivers over the course of this campaign and now telling them that in fact we're going to be on the inside of City Hall,
Must be a trip.
It's quite something.
One of the things to me that seems like it's keeping you up at night, because you've been talking a lot about it, at least over the course of the last week, is the potential presence of ICE in the city. We've seen raids at 26 Federal Plaza. I've seen them myself. You've seen them. We've seen this young boy and his father.
Wan Shin.
Yep, from Queens, 6 years old, separated right now. Watching you in that Oval Office meeting with the president was almost unbelievable to see. And you talked a little bit about how you talked about ICE and that there are all these issues that the city and the federal government cooperate on. Did he telegraph to you at all whether or not he's going to send Greg Bavino and the Border Patrol into New York City?
Look, I told the president that these kinds of raids that we're seeing here in New York City, they're cruel and inhumane, and they do nothing to serve the interests of public safety. And I'm speaking to you right now as a mayor-elect. I'm also still the assembly member for Astoria and Long Island City. And Juan Sheen, the 6-year-old boy that you were just referring to, he was a student at PS 166Q. And we still don't know where he is. We know his father is being held in a detention facility in upstate New York.
Orange County.
Yeah, in Orange County, but we don't know where Juan Sheen is. And I'm thankful for the fact that they just spoke for the first time since they were separated. And yet that is not enough. We need to see the 6-year-old boy be released. And what I told the president in our meeting was that the issue is not on the following of existing sanctuary city policies, which allows for the city to work together with the federal government on those who have been convicted of 170 serious crimes. The issue is these kinds of separations that we're looking at 26 Federal Plaza. And I say that also as an immigrant who got my own citizenship right here in this city, who I've seen my own family members going to 26 Federal Plaza, and I've waited outside not knowing if I have to file a pro se.
The reality is what I've seen in LA and what I saw in Chicago and what I saw in Charlotte and what I've seen in the hallways of 26 Federal Plaza is likely coming to New York City. Do you believe that that type of enforcement, indiscriminate rounding up of people, in some measure it's already happening? If it does happen here as the mayor, what are you going to do about it?
I'm going to continue to make clear that this is not something that we stand for as New Yorkers, and this is not serving any of the interests that are being stated as the justification for them. And as you've all also said, there is an aspect of this that is already taking place right here in the city. And it is important for each and every one of us to speak up, because at the end of the day, we're speaking about New Yorkers, the separation of New Yorkers from their families, and we're in a city where more than 3 million New Yorkers are immigrants, myself as one of them.
Kristi Noem, the Homeland Security Secretary, said this week that in response to that video you put out about knowing your rights, what to do if ICE comes knocking on your door, if you were mayor, you could have been violating the Constitution of the United States, and that she intimated that the Department of Justice might be looking into it. What's your response to Kristi Noem?
I'm proud to inform people of their rights, and I can't think of a more American thing to do than to speak about the protections that we all have under the law.
Are you prepared? Gavin Newsom told me he was prepared to be arrested. Tom Homan threatened anybody that stands in the way could be arrested. You've been arrested before, standing up for people's rights. J.B. Pritzker told me that Donald Trump should come and get me. You prepared to be arrested by the federal government if you stand up to their immigration enforcement?
I'm prepared for any consequence that comes for standing up for New Yorkers, because that's my job. That's what I ran to do. And I think that it's time that New Yorkers look at City Hall that's right here and see a reflection of their struggles as opposed to a reflection of the scandal that has engulfed so much of our politics.
I've also heard you say that no one is above the law and anyone can be held accountable, and that goes for the President of the United States and it also goes for ICE agents. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but is there a scenario in which the NYPD under you could arrest ICE agents on the streets of New York for their behavior towards immigrants?
My focus is for the NYPD to not be assisting ICE in their immigration enforcement and to actually be following the policies of sanctuary city law. And I do believe, however, that for the law to have meaning, there has to be accountability for all of us. And that is something that is necessary to speak about, to talk about, to act on, no matter who we're referring to, because so many are losing faith in politics in this moment because they're seeing inconsistency take place at every different facet of our society.
So in other words, there is a circumstance in which if an ICE agent violates someone's rights here in New York City, they could be arrested by the police department?
I think if an ICE agent is breaking the law, then that is a law that they should be held accountable to.
What are you going to do if Greg Bovino shows up with the Border Patrol agents and goes down into the subway? You know how important the subway is to all working class people in this city and the chill factor that it would send. What do you do in response to something like that?
Well, my responsibility is to do the work necessary to ensure that that doesn't take place.
That he doesn't even make it into the subways?
To have that hypothetical not come to bear here in New York City, and what I mean by that is by making the case to the federal administration that these kinds of actions do not serve the interests, even the ones that they are actually putting forward. That what New Yorkers need from a federal administration is the kind of partnership that will actually keep New Yorkers safe in this city, and that what I also told the president is we have the NYPD here. We trust the NYPD to deliver that public safety. We do not need ICE and the National Guard to make that same case.
So your message to the president, if he's considering sending in the National Guard troops to New York City or sending in those massed armed federal agents on a wide scale like we saw in LA or in Chicago and Charlotte, is what?
That we do not need them here. And what we have here is the NYPD that can provide that public safety, and that what we are looking to do is to build a city that is focused on the affordability crisis and understands that the cornerstone of that affordability agenda is the provision of public safety. And that was actually the core of the conversation I had with the president, what I would be looking to do and what we would be looking to deliver.
Mr. Mayor-elect, I know you got a lot of things to do, so I'm going to let you get out of here. I really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
It's nice to see you.
Real pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. Thank you.